Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Miriam Leva with United Insurance Experts. United Insurance Experts is not affiliated with or endorsed by the government or the federal Medicare program. We do not offer every plan available in your area. Right now in Palm Beach County, we represent 10 organizations offering 49 different products. For information on all of your options, please visit Medicare.gov or call 1-800-MEDICARE. Again, thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. Today, I want to share real-life Medicare situations I've seen recently because many people don't realize how small Medicare mistakes can lead to unexpected costs or coverage problems, right? So, one scenario I want to go over is forgetting to cancel your supplement plan, right? Sometimes we have people that switch from a Medicare supplement plan to a Medicare Advantage plan, right? They've been on a Medicare supplement plan for a long time, and then they decide to try out a Medicare Advantage plan, also known as Part C of Medicare. And I did have a client that did this exactly, right? He was on a Medicare supplement for the longest time. He transitioned to a Medicare Advantage. He enrolled in a Medicare Advantage to start January 1st of 2026. And I advise them, make sure now that your Medicare Advantage is approved and in place for January 1st, go ahead and cancel your Medicare supplement plan. Because the client is typically the only one that can cancel that kind of coverage. So they went ahead, they were advised, right? He recently calls me up and he says, Miriam, I forgot to cancel the Medicare supplement plan. Just like, you advised me. I know, I'm sorry. I just forgot to do it with the holidays, with everything going on. He forgets to cancel it. And he ended up, right, being charged the two premiums for January and February for his Medicare supplement plan. That is, about $400 in his case. And he's like, how do I get that money back? Now, there are carriers that require you to send an email in writing. And I'm hoping, right, that he will get that money back. As long as he didn't accidentally charge that coverage, there's a good chance he'll get that back. But again, every case is different. It is scary because he doesn't know if he's going to get that money back, right? So it's very important that when you transition to a new plan or maybe purchase a different supplement plan. Sometimes I get people that are in a Medicare supplement plan for a long time, for a couple years, and they're paying a lot of money for it. And then there's another Medicare supplement plan that's offering a better rate. That's a rare situation, but it can happen. And sometimes they change from one supplement plan to another. And keep in mind, these companies, they don't communicate. It's not like, the first supplement plan says, yep, they're enrolled with you guys. We're going to go ahead and cancel it. No, you have to advise. You have to let that your past coverage know that you're no longer needing their services. So that's important. And again, keep in mind that when you do cancel something, one rule of thumb is you make sure that that new plan is in force and approved before canceling anything. Now, a lot of people get confused with Medicare supplement plans because a lot of people know that one Medicare Advantage plan will communicate with another. So if you're in a Medicare Advantage plan and then you switch for the new year to a new plan, they do communicate. Same thing with Part Ds, right? You enroll in a new one, they do communicate, and one will cancel the previous coverage out. So in that case, it's okay. It's really about those Medicare supplement plans. When you transition to a Medicare Advantage plan, they don't communicate. So it's important to cancel that coverage if you're changing plans, right? Scenario number 2 is very similar. It's about employer coverage and not canceling it, right? We get a lot of retirees that, they want to transition to Medicare. They want to go ahead and retire and take their Medicare, and they're canceling, or they should be canceling, their employer plan. So same thing, you have to make sure you cancel that employer coverage, especially for those that are continuing to work. If you're retiring and, everybody knows this is your last day of work and, you're ending all the benefits then that's different. But a lot of people continue to work and actually choose Medicare. And that's when you have to make sure you cancel that policy out. So same thing, just like a Medicare supplement, because again, they don't communicate, right? So it's very important that you cancel that, and you typically do that by contacting HR or the benefits office to get that coordinated correctly, right? Because you don't want to have that issue. And talking about issues with an employer plan, one thing I see a lot is the coordination of benefits, right? So if you have that employer plan in force and then you enroll in, let's say, a Medicare Advantage plan or even a Medicare supplement plan along with original Medicare, what I have seen is if Medicare or the system is not updated, a doctor's office can't put in a claim. They can't put in a claim to that new policy if the system shows a different policy. So what's happening is you would have to notify Medicare of that new policy to make sure they update the system. And one of those numbers, which I'm going to give to you, it's called the Benefits Coordination and Recovery Center. Their number is 855-798-2627. That number again is 855-798-2627. This is a number that you can use if you need to coordinate benefits or if you're having this situation. I mean, at least I have seen a lot the past 2 years, actually. I've seen this a lot where the system hasn't been updated. It's just so important that, you don't want to be at the doctor's office and the doctor says, wait, I can't put in this claim, or maybe you need prescriptions, or maybe you need surgery, right? And they're like, wait, we can't put in this claim because the system shows another coverage, your employer coverage, and now you're on Medicare. So it's important that you update that. Lately, I've been just telling my clients, especially when they're coming off an employer plan, please call them now and let them know that you're now in this plan so the system is updated. Scenario number 3 is Medicaid coverage lost. So we do have a lot of people that are on Medicaid, and we put them on dual special needs plans that work well for people that have Medicare and Medicaid. So when Medicaid ends, right, a lot of times you're in that, if you're on Medicare and Medicaid, right? So Medicare is from the government, right? And then Medicaid is from the state. Let's just look at it like that. If Medicaid goes away, then you're just on original Medicare, right? Assuming you only have Medicare and Medicaid. You don't want to be in that position, because then you'll be responsible for everything, the gaps of original Medicare, which is that 20% of Part B and then the deductibles of Part A. So very, very important that when you receive a letter from Medicaid saying you no longer qualify, that you make a change, right? That you protect yourself. So if you're on Medicare and Medicaid, right, if you're in that situation, then you better, either get on a supplement plan if you can, right? I've had some people do this as long as they qualify. Sometimes they could even get a guaranteed issue depending the state or the situation. Or they can go ahead and get on a Medicare Advantage plan, because when you lose coverage or you come off Medicaid, a lot of times this opens up a special election period for you to change plans, right? You want to make sure to protect that gap either by a Medicare supplement plan, if you have the money, if you're able to pay that supplement plan, or go on a Medicare Advantage plan that best fits you. Now, if you're on a special needs plan, a lot of times if you lose Medicaid, you want to go ahead and change to a regular Medicare Advantage plans, because a lot of times those dual special needs plans are not fit for just Medicare. So it's very important that you understand that and you speak to a licensed agent about this. If you're already working with someone that you love and trust, please make sure you reach out to them and let them know of the situation, because they're not getting informed. A lot of times they don't, or if they do, it's not right away. I mean, at least in my case, a lot of times I don't find out until like a month, 2 months later. So it's very important that you communicate with your agent if you received a letter or, of Medicaid letting you know that you're losing coverage through Medicaid. So again, very important that you review this. If you're welcome to call us, 561-464-2273. That number again is 561-464-2273. You can call us. A lot of times, we take calls where people just want information, and that's okay. That's why we're here. Scenario number 4 is medications lately have been costing more. Especially we saw this, when we were going into 2026, talking to my clients and reviewing their medications. We noticed that there was some increases on some medications this year. So that's why it's very important that during the annual election period that runs from October 15th to December 7th, you review all your medications to make sure that the plan that you have continue to make sense, or maybe change medications if that's an option for you, right? Or maybe change pharmacies if that's the case. But we've also seen some changes with the extra help, and that's something that I kind of want to go over with you. With the extra help, some formularies have changed, pharmacy contracts have changed, drug tiers have changed. So in 2026, the extra help, if the plan premium is $0, the plan deductible is $0, you can pay up to $5.10 for generic drugs and up to $12.65 for brand name drugs. And we've been seeing this where people last year were paying $0. Right? They're like, wait a minute, why am I being charged this $5.10? Or why am I being charged this $12.65? Again, it's getting your education ahead of time so this doesn't happen. Because what we're seeing is people are at the pharmacy and they're like, wait a minute, I'm used to paying $0. Why should I pay $5? Or why should I pay $12? So it's important to understand and review this every year. Again, just to remind you guys about the maximum cost for drugs right now is $2,100. That is the maximum for covered medications. If you would like to see if you qualify for extra help, you can call Medicare directly, which is 1-800-Medicare. I always tell people there's nothing wrong with applying. You can go ahead and find out if you qualify. If you qualify, great. If you don't, then you don't, right? But at least you find out. So again, that you can call Medicare directly, 1-800-Medicare. And one lesson to learn about this is review your drug coverage yearly. I know it might work okay, but if you don't look at your notice of change letter and you don't realize, and you go into the new year, your plan might not cover your medications, or maybe that drug is no longer $0 or $5. It might be $5 or $20, right? And it's good to understand before needing that medication, right? So scenario number 5, Part B cancellations. Unfortunately, I've seen this a few times this year already where a client misses their Medicare Part B payments and coverage is terminated. That is very sad to see. In some cases, reinstatement is possible, but coverage gaps can occur. Also, a lot of times it won't be reinstated, right? If there's no valid reason, or you took too long to get that payment up to date. So it's very important. There's confusion around there where they're like, well, I'm in a Medicare Advantage plan and it's $0, so I don't have to pay my Part B premium, and they just, stop paying it. We see this a lot in people that are not collecting their Social Security, because when people are collecting Social Security, they get their Part B deducted, right? But when you're not collecting Social Security, you get a quarterly invoice typically, and people just forget it. They're like, I don't have to pay this. You do if you want to be on Medicare, right? And at least in my case, healthcare is very important. And it's so sad to see situations like this where people are referred to me to try to help them out. And sometimes we can get that Part B reinstated, and there's times that we can't. We have to wait for the general election period to do so. So it's very important that you always monitor your Medicare premium payments. If you're collecting Social Security, I think you're pretty much safe. But for those that are not getting Social Security deducted, it's very important that you look at your Medicare.gov page. If you created one, that's my advice. Create an account with Medicare.gov and go to the Easy Pay. A lot of times you could set it up on auto pay. That's how I prefer to do things because I am forgetful. I'm a busy person, so I need to set up things on auto pay, and it's okay. It happens to the best of us. I've forgotten things. I've forgotten bills, and I hate myself for it, but it just happens, especially when we're busy and or we're enjoying life, right? I have clients that are, take cruises or they go visit family in another country, and they forget. So it's very important that we stay up to date. Okay, so that's just one thing, a lesson to be learned is always monitor Medicare premium payments. Scenario number 6 is chronic condition and special needs plans. This year, I feel that the chronic special needs plan have been definitely stronger. If you qualify for a chronic special needs plan, which you can talk to your agent or you can call us at 561-464-2273. A lot of these plans come with like extra benefits, potentially lower cost. Some do come with like better care coordination, right? Depending on your situation, if it's a heart disease or diabetes, right? They're more giving in that area. So it's important to review it, right? To make sure it makes sense for you before changing to this option. But if you do have a chronic condition like heart disease, diabetes, COPD, in some areas in Palm Beach County, there are some chronic special needs plan that could be beneficial. So it's always good to know and review them with your licensed agent to see if it makes sense. And if it does, you should try it out. They definitely richer in benefits this year, and I've been offering it to a lot of my clients and they've been very happy with it. So again, it's just learning about it and making sure they make sense before enrolling in them. Scenario number 7 that I've seen is a lot of the medications that are administered at the doctor's office, right? So medications given at doctor's office, such as like Prolia, usually fall under Medicare Part B, not Part D, like the prescription drug plan. And there's a big confusion about this because typically doctors will charge the medical part of the plan. And a lot of times there could be up to a 20% cost share. So it's important to understand it before, you get on this medication, that you understand what your cost share is. Again, review it. If you have a medication, if we are your agents, you can call us and we'll call the carrier for you and we will find out what that cost share is. So then you know ahead of time, or you just call the back of the card, right? I always tell people, look, if your agent is busy or whatever the story is, they're out of town or they're on vacation, you can always call the back of the card. And I'm sure if you're with a great carrier, they'll give you, great customer service. You call the member hotline and I'm sure they will help you and give you that information. So again, always confirm coverage before treatment, make sure it's covered and what that cost will be, right? Because these medications could be a little costly. Scenario 8, doctors leaving network. So sometimes a doctor leaves a Medicare Advantage network after enrollment. So let's say during the annual election period, you chose ABC company because it had all your favorite doctors in the network. And then here we are in February and you find out that 2 or 3 of your favorite doctors are no longer taking that plan. It's scary, I know, but it can happen because doctors and facilities can come off whenever they want, unfortunately, right? The plan stays the same, but it doesn't mean that doctor is going to continue to take that plan. And I've seen this too many times. And unfortunately, as an agent, I could only tell you when you do enroll what doctors are in the network. But I also let you know that doctors or facilities can come off in the middle of the year or whenever they want, right? So it's very important that if you do find out that your doctor or your facility is no longer taking your plan, that you communicate with your agent if you're working with one, let them know. So if there is a special election period where they can switch you, then they'll let you know about that and switch you to another plan that makes better sense. Always check the networks every year. Maybe you haven't seen that doctor in a while and there is an election period and you can make a change, right? So you don't want to miss out on that. So again, make sure you always review everything. Scenario 9, we see this a lot, especially in Palm Beach County. I have clients living in 2 different states, right? Many South Florida residents live part of the year in another state. And when you're in an Advantage plan, now this is not for my Medicare supplement clients, but for my Medicare Advantage clients that live part in another state, it's always important that you make sure that your plan is accepted, right? Where you currently are. So let's say you're here in Florida and your plan works perfectly, but then you have doctors in New York. Always check them out to see if they're in the network or they take your plan, right? Typically, if you're in a PPO, that means you're allowed to go out of network if you wish to. If I have a client like that, I typically put them in a PPO plan so they have access to doctors and facilities out of the state or their resident state, right? So snowbirds, please review your coverage to ensure access while traveling or to your second home or your third home. I have people living in 3-4 different states, which is great. But it's always important that they have the coverage that they need when they want to. Now, I do get questions like, oh, Myriam, what if an emergency happens? Typically, if it's an emergency, you're fine. It's more of having access to those doctors if you want to, right? Out of the state. Okay. Scenario number 10. The difference between a hospital admission and emergency care. So if you go to the ER, especially for those people on a Medicare Advantage plan, it's not the same. Being admitted into the hospital is one copay if your plan has a copay, and then the ER visit is a different copay. If you do get admitted within the 24 hours, then it becomes a hospital admission. For some reason, I've been getting that question a lot this month. So just wanted to advise you guys, it's two different things. If you have concerns about this, please just let us know. 561-464-2273. We'll be happy to review this and check this for you. Again, one of the things that I want to close with is I know Medicare decisions can feel complicated, but small mistakes can become costly. So reviewing your coverage regularly and communicating with your agent is key. It really helps avoid these surprises, right? Or when we're in the middle of the crisis where we don't want to be dealing with that stuff when we're in the middle of the crisis, right? So always communicate, always review. If you or your loved ones have Medicare questions, I'm always happy to help. I'm just that kind of person. I'm that kind of agent. Please reach out to us if you need any help. 561-464-2273. I hope I've enlighten you guys. I hope that if you're in this situation, I hope that I've helped. If you're concerned, please reach out 561-464-2273. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to speaking with you all again next week. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone.